we have a situation that rises, then we need to have a contact to get a hold of somebody. Otherwise, you get somebody that's from Minneapolis and it might, whatever. So I do think some kind of requirement on that would be good. I like that.
So, am I understanding this? Every apartment complex would have to go through this? All the existing?
Hopefully it doesn't say that, because I don't think that is their intent. I think they probably have a definition of what short term is, and whether that would come down to. I think there's something there where it exempts on campus housing, hospitals, nursing home, and motels. We obviously probably want to exempt apartments doing a month to month lease situation, just because that would be. We only have one Paul. He can't be running them down all the time. But we could apply it to. We'd probably want to define what a short term rental is and what types of it doesn't apply to. We don't obviously have any on campus housing. We have a clinic, but not really a hospital. You don't probably stay there overnight. We have nursing homes. We have a couple of hotels. We probably want to sort that out.
Because I read the first paragraph and I thought, wow. I mean, all property owners and managers of long and short-term residential rental units. So this would be anything.
Yeah, conceptually, yes, it sounds
I don't know if
very
we wanna,
broad.
I don't know if we want to get. I mean, obviously that's not a zoning issue. That's more of a. That would be a city council thing for you guys to decide if you want to do that. But I mean, do we require managers of all of our apartment complexes to have somebody within so much distance? And then how do we police that? And
Yeah, we just don't have enforcement capability for a lot of
Yeah.
that stuff, so.
Yeah, currently we do not have a rental registry. We do not in the city.
Well,
But
what
I
are we
think-
really
I think
trying
the police, I think the police department has some sort of thing. I do know because they've contacted us on our fourplex to who's the manager and who's in charge of it or whatever. So they've been they kind of have a list a little bit. I know that they've been keeping track of for a while.
what are we trying to protect against, is my question. What are we worried about?
It would be probably the list of things when we had the people came in that were concerned about the one we talked about at the last meeting, with cars on the street. That's a police issue.
Too many
So-
people in the house.
Yep. So do we care to do anything? Basically, this is what Sioux Falls does. I don't know if it doesn't really have any rules behind it. I mean, great, you tell us where you are, but I mean, from a city standpoint, we probably care to, if they are a short-term rental, I believe they have to pay sales tax. So we probably care that they are actually
Do
paying
we
sales tax.
do we check food trucks coming in for
Yes.
sales tax? They prove it.
Yes.
Okay.
And we do peddlers and that kind of thing as well.
And we have adopted, obviously, the International Property Maintenance Code. I do get calls on rental complaints about a variety of things. The landlord's not doing this, not doing that, or whatever. And so we already have a vehicle and an employee that handles complaints from rental units and owners.
So those are people that are renting and are complaining, or
Potentially, like
or
in Keystone, I don't want
neighbors.
to throw Keystone Apartments out there, but I'll get a call and the landlord of the property management company is not doing this for me or not doing that, or I see a rat, or I don't want to, or something's not occurring properly. And then we go into our nuisance ordinances from the city or the International Property Maintenance Code to make the landlord do what they need to do.
what would happen if I were a neighbor and the house next door was a short-term rental property and they weren't keeping it up or something? I would call you, so there would be something in place for that. So then are we just reinventing the wheel? I don't know.
I mean, we have that in place now. I mean, if my neighbor's
cars. Well,
The only way we could stop it is if we did require licensing, then we could pull the license, but,
Why do you think Sioux Falls has this permit? Is it just to try to, I mean, they have a lot more officers that can deal with it, but why do they have it, I guess?
Well, I've had some contact with the health department manager, which is right next door to code enforcement. He said the basic reason for it is we need contact information for these units so that they can track them down. And I do the best I can to find out who these landlords are, whether they live in Phoenix or they live, somewhere else in Brandon. So.
A long-term rental is going to have hopefully better contact information for their, landlord or whoever is running it, management company. I say hopefully because I know that's not always the case, but a short-term, a lot of times you don't even talk to them. You book it through, an app or something like that. So if something happens and you don't have contact for them, then how do you, if they call the city or, it'd be good, I think, for us to have some contact information in case there is a problem so that we can get a hold of somebody and have a contact that's within a certain radius. Otherwise you have an owner that's running this all from Arizona and there isn't someone that can handle the situation. So I think it'd be good to at least have that. I don't know how strict we need to get.
But it's saying that, this, you just have to get it once. So then, the challenge would be, okay, who's going to update that contact information? I mean, so I don't know that would solve that problem. I'm not opposed to it, but I also am for less government, the better.
and have we had a problem with it up until now?
Not necessarily a problem. We get a lot of questions about it, though. So we just want to make sure that we, as the staff level, are doing the approach that both P&Z and especially the city council wants us to do, and that's what we're trying to suss out.
You get questions from people who are renting or from people who want to rent?
Most times it is probably 3 out of 4. It's people potentially interested in doing this, whether buying a property or leasing a room in their home. The other probably quarter is, what can we do to stop this from happening here? So it's kind of a mix.
so I don't do the Airbnbs and VRBOs very often, but every one that I've stayed in, they are not in a separate zoning district. It's somebody's condo, it's somebody's house, whether they own it and lease it out while they're gone, or whether they own it and they lease it out and never live there. But from a zoning standpoint, which is what we're here to address, I have never seen any of them in a separate zoning district. So I think anything else really is outside of a zoning issue.
Well, and if you rent one of those, there's, at least the ones we've rented, there's always a book, has the contact information. If you have a problem, this is who you contact. I wouldn't contact the city. I would go back to my booking app or the book in the house.
My daughter rented an Airbnb campsite on somebody's farm once. She got that through Airbnb. Airbnb.
I think what this group is tasked with is, do we allow it in R1? Do we allow it in R2? It's not, all right, if we're going to allow it, this is all the logistics of that. I don't think that's really a zoning issue. I think it's up to us to just decide, are we going to allow this to happen, or are we not going to allow it to happen?
Correct. We're not necessarily asking you as the planning and zoning commissioner. I'm more asking you as kind of residents of the community. Because you've mentioned before that you don't see it as a zoning deal, so it's a permitting deal, which is a city council deal, more so than yours. I'm just asking on that.
I guess along that lines then, along that line, we do allow some, um, some living quarters and stuff in light industrial, right? Do we wanna allow, is it okay to have Airbnbs in those districts, or is that something that we wanna be cautious about along those lines of zoning, I guess? We wanna have shop condos leasing out Airbnbs. I'm not sure that that's, I don't know. As you're bringing it up, I guess I'm thinking about that, but.
I thought where we had it, these in conjunction with commercial, is you have to, whoever lives there has to be the same owner as the business. Like if we were, like when neighborhood business, we allowed an owner to live above their business,
Okay, I think you're right.
but you wouldn't be able to rent it out to other people because you would have, we'd specifically say it owner occupied.
So that's true in most of the general business. It's dwellings; they just have to be above the first floor. So there is no owner occupied requirement on general business, but that was in for sure neighborhood business. Central business may be the same as the general business requirement. Yeah. So central and general are both dwellings must be above the first floor. There are conditional uses, but there's not an owner occupied requirement.
Yeah, because we talked about allowing apartments above the first floor businesses.
Sounds good. That's all we have for you. Sounds like this is a city council discussion potentially in the future. Maybe not. Barb looks skeptical, so.
I just don't think we have the capability to, monitor it unless there's a problem, and then they'll call us. Just kind of like weeds in the yard. It's not like Paul drives around and looks for that, but if he gets a complaint, then he deals with it. I think we're kind of at that position at this point, but we can certainly revisit it. I'm not the only vote, so. Okay, so, anything else for better of the good here? Or else I'll take a motion to adjourn.
Do we have a quorum for January 2nd? I know with the holidays it becomes somewhat dicey.
I have a conflict, I will not be here.
Should be.
Okay.
I'll be here.
All right.
All right, motion.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed? All right, Merry Christmas, everybody.
We are adjourned at 8:16 p.m.